I used to work out late at night because the gym near my apartment stayed open 24 hours. I worked long shifts during the day, so midnight workouts became my routine. The gym was usually quiet at that hour, sometimes completely empty, and I actually liked that. There was something peaceful about lifting weights in a silent building where the only sounds were the soft hum of machines and the distant buzz of fluorescent lights. One Tuesday night, I arrived around 12:40 a.m. The parking lot outside looked unusually empty, even for that time. Only my car and one other vehicle sat under the dim yellow parking lights. I remember thinking that was strange, but not strange enough to worry about. I scanned my membership card at the entrance and stepped inside. The automatic door slid shut behind me with a soft, mechanical click, and the gym greeted me with that familiar late-night quiet. The main lights were dimmed into overnight mode, casting long shadows between the machines. A television mounted above the treadmills was playing sports highlights on mute, the screen flashing bright colors in the otherwise dull room. I looked around. No one. Not unusual, but still slightly eerie. I dropped my gym bag near the squat rack and began my normal routine. Stretching first, a few warm-up sets, then I moved on to heavier lifts. The quiet atmosphere actually helped me focus. Every clink of a weight plate echoed softly through the empty gym floor. About 20 minutes into my workout, I heard something. A loud metallic clang echoed from down the hallway leading to the locker rooms. It sounded exactly like a locker door slamming shut. The sound bounced off the walls and traveled through the gym floor, sharp and sudden. I paused mid-set and listened. The silence returned immediately. I figured someone must have walked in without me noticing and headed straight into the locker room. That happens sometimes. People like to work out late to avoid crowds. So I shrugged and continued my workout. A few minutes passed, then it happened again. This time, the noise sounded even louder. It echoed longer, too, like the locker door had been slammed harder. I set the barbell down and looked toward the hallway. No one came out. The hallway lights glowed dimly, but the corridor remained empty. I waited for footsteps. Nothing. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but curiosity started creeping in. The gym was so quiet that the noise felt out of place. Finally, I walked toward the locker room. The hallway felt colder than the main gym area. The fluorescent lights above buzzed faintly as I stepped inside the locker room entrance. Rows of gray metal lockers stretched across the walls. A few benches sat in the center of the room, and the faint smell of disinfectant mixed with sweat hung in the air. But the room was empty. Completely empty. No gym bags, no people. Every locker door looked closed. I stood there confused for a moment, scanning the room carefully. Nothing moved. I exhaled slowly and shook my head. Maybe a locker door hadn't been fully shut earlier and just fell closed on its own. That explanation made enough sense. I turned around and started walking back toward the gym floor. Then I heard a slow creaking sound behind me, a long metallic squeal that sent a strange chill up my spine. I stopped. Slowly, I turned around. One of the lockers behind me was opening. The door was slowly swinging outward by itself. There was no one near it, no air vents blowing nearby, no reason for it to move. The door continued to open slowly, inch by inch, until it stopped completely. I stared at it. The locker was maybe 10 feet away. Inside was nothing except a neatly folded gym towel sitting on the top shelf. The room felt colder suddenly. My heart began beating a little faster. Then the locker door suddenly slammed shut. The sound exploded through the room so loudly that I physically jumped backward. At the exact same moment, the locker room lights flickered once, then twice, then they stabilized. My chest tightened. Something about the situation felt wrong, very wrong. I grabbed my gym bag and started walking quickly toward the exit. As I stepped back onto the gym floor, the overhead speaker suddenly crackled to life. A distorted announcement echoed through the building. "Attention! The gym is now closed. Please leave immediately." The message repeated once more. My stomach dropped. The gym never closed. It was open 24 hours. That was the entire reason I joined. I walked straight to the front desk. The night attendant was sitting behind the counter scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I approached. "You heading out already?" he asked casually. I nodded slowly. "Did someone else come in tonight?" I asked. He frowned. "No, just you." I hesitated before telling him about the locker door. His expression changed immediately. The casual look on his face disappeared. He stared at me for a moment before leaning forward slightly. Then he spoke. "Which locker?" I tried to remember the number. "I'm not sure. Maybe near the middle row." The attendant leaned back in his chair and, "That locker used to belong to a regular member," he said. I waited. The silence stretched for a moment. Then he continued. "He collapsed here 2 years ago. A heart attack. They found him in the locker room." I felt a cold wave move through my chest. I glanced toward the hallway leading back to the locker room. The corridor looked darker now, almost like the lights had dimmed again. The attendant shrugged slightly. "People say strange things happen late at night around here." I didn't reply. I walked out of the gym and into the parking lot. As I reached my car, I looked back through the front windows. The gym floor was empty, but deep inside the locker room hallway. For just a second, I thought I saw a locker door slowly opening again. I canceled my midnight gym routine after that, and I never went back after dark again.
Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
During my second year of college, I used to go to a small gym near campus that stayed open until 2 in the morning. It wasn't a fancy place. Most of the equipment was older, the lights were dimmer than normal gyms, and the building itself was a converted warehouse that always smelled faintly like rubber mats and cleaning chemicals. But the membership was cheap, and it was open late, which made it perfect for students like me who had unpredictable schedules. My routine was usually the same. I would study late in the library, grab a quick snack, and then head to the gym around 1 in the morning. At that hour, the place was usually empty except for 1 or 2 people finishing cardio before closing time. One night in late October, I arrived at the gym around 1:05 a.m. The parking lot was almost empty. Only 2 cars sat under the flickering parking lights near the entrance. I didn't think much about it. Late-night workouts were always quiet. I swiped my key card, the door unlocked with a soft beep, and I stepped inside. The gym was dimly lit like usual. Only half the overhead lights were on, leaving long shadows stretching across the floor between the machines. A television mounted above the treadmills was playing an old action movie with the volume turned down low. As I walked in, I immediately noticed someone already using the cardio machines. A man was running on the far treadmill. He was tall and thin, wearing an old gray hoodie with the hood pulled up and dark workout pants. His face looked pale under the fluorescent lights. But what caught my attention wasn't his appearance. It was how fast he was running. The treadmill display showed 11 miles per hour. That's extremely fast for a sustained run. Most people can barely hold that speed for a minute or two. But this man looked completely calm. No heavy breathing, no sweat, just running. His posture was stiff and upright, and his eyes were fixed straight ahead on the blank wall in front of him. He didn't even look at the television. I shrugged it off and headed toward the weight machines. For the next 10 minutes, I focused on my workout, doing a few sets of bench presses and dumbbell curls. The quiet gym made every small sound noticeable. The clink of metal plates, the hum of the treadmill motor, even the faint squeak of the rubber flooring beneath my shoes. Eventually, I glanced back toward the cardio area. The man was still running. Same speed, same posture, same blank expression. Something about the way he moved looked unnatural. Most people running that fast would be sweating, breathing heavily, or at least adjusting their pace. But he looked exactly the same as when I first walked in. Perfectly still except for his legs moving. I kept watching him for a moment. That's when I noticed something strange. He hadn't blinked. His eyes were wide open, staring straight ahead without any movement. I told myself maybe I just hadn't noticed it, so I kept watching. 10 seconds passed. 20 seconds, 30 seconds, still no blink. My stomach started feeling slightly uneasy. Then slowly, without stopping his run, the man turned his head toward me. Our eyes met. His stare felt wrong. There was no emotion in his face, no curiosity, no annoyance, just a cold, empty gaze. Then something even stranger happened. He smiled. But it didn't look like a normal smile. It looked forced, like someone who had studied what a smile should look like, but didn't fully understand it. His lips stretched across his face in an unnatural way. I quickly looked away and pretended to focus on my workout again, but the feeling of being watched didn't go away. Every few seconds, I felt the urge to glance back toward the treadmills, and every time I did, he was still looking at me, still running, still smiling slightly. The air in the gym suddenly felt heavier. After about 10 more minutes, I decided to leave. I told myself I was probably overthinking things. Maybe the guy was just focused on his run and happened to glance in my direction. Still, the entire situation felt unsettling. I grabbed my bag and began walking toward the exit. To leave the gym, I had to pass directly in front of the treadmills. As I walked past the machines, I glanced at the treadmill display again. And that's when my stomach dropped. The treadmill screen was dark, completely black. The machine was turned off. But the man was still running. His legs continued moving at the exact same pace. His feet lifted and dropped rapidly against the stationary belt. But the treadmill itself wasn't moving. The belt was perfectly still. The machine wasn't even powered on. I slowed down. My brain struggled to process what I was seeing. Then the man slowly turned his head toward me again. That same unnatural smile spread across his face. His eyes looked wider now, almost hollow. He leaned slightly closer to me as I passed, and in a quiet whisper he said something. His voice sounded dry, almost like it hadn't been used in a long time. "Don't stop running." My heart began pounding instantly. I didn't respond. I walked straight to the exit and left the building. The cold night air outside hit my face as I stepped into the parking lot. I didn't even look back. I just got into my car and drove home. The next afternoon, I returned to the gym during normal hours to cancel my membership. The place looked completely different during the day. Bright lights, music playing, people everywhere. The front desk employee asked why I wanted to cancel. I hesitated before describing the man I had seen the night before. Tall, thin gray hoodie running late at night. The employee's expression slowly changed. He looked uncomfortable. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. "A guy matching that description died here last year." I stared at him. He continued quietly. "Heart attack on a treadmill. Late at night. They found him still standing on the machine." I never went back to that gym again. And to this day, I still can't forget the way he looked at me, or the way he smiled, while running on a treadmill that wasn't even turned on.
Before we move on to the next story, give us your verdict on this one, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
My friend Kevin used to work the overnight shift at a 24-hour gym on the edge of town. The job sounded easy when he first got it. His responsibilities were simple: sit at the front desk, monitor the security cameras, clean equipment when needed, and check in the occasional late-night member. Most nights were boring. According to him, hours could pass without anyone walking through the door. The gym itself was fairly large. It had a cardio section near the entrance, a big free weights area in the middle, and a hallway that led to the locker rooms and staff office. Security cameras were installed throughout the building, and the front desk had a small monitor station that displayed all the camera feeds at once. Kevin's shift started at midnight and ended at 6 in the morning. He told me that after about 3 in the morning, the gym usually became completely empty. One night in early winter, something strange happened. Kevin arrived for his shift around 11:50 p.m. and took over from the evening employee. The night started normally. A few people came in to use the treadmills, a couple of regulars lifted weights, and someone used the rowing machine near the back wall. But by around 2:45 a.m., the gym was completely empty. Kevin locked the front entrance so only members with access cards could enter, then sat down behind the desk and began watching videos on his phone. Every once in a while, he glanced up at the security monitors out of habit. Around 3:10 a.m., one of the camera feeds suddenly activated. The small motion sensor icon on the monitor flashed red. Kevin looked up. The camera showing the free weights area had detected movement. He leaned forward slightly. At first, the screen looked normal. The dumbbell racks sat against the wall beneath a long mirror. Benches were arranged neatly across the rubber floor, and the overhead lights cast dull reflections across the metal weights. Then Kevin noticed something. Someone was standing near the dumbbell rack. A woman. She was standing completely still, facing the mirror. Her long, dark hair hung down across part of her face, and she appeared to be wearing black gym clothes. Kevin immediately frowned. He was certain no one had entered the gym in the last half hour. He quickly checked the access log on the computer. The last member entry had been at 2:31 a.m. No one else had scanned in since. Kevin looked back at the monitor. The woman hadn't moved, not even slightly. She was just standing there, staring at her reflection. Kevin assumed maybe someone had been in the locker room and walked out without him noticing. It wasn't impossible. The building had several blind spots near the hallway. Still, something about the way she stood there made him uneasy. She didn't stretch. She didn't pick up any weights. She didn't move at all. After watching for another 30 seconds, Kevin stood up. He grabbed a flashlight from the desk and walked out onto the gym floor. The building felt unusually quiet. His footsteps echoed softly against the rubber flooring as he walked toward the free weights area. But when he arrived there, the space was empty. No woman, no movement, no sound. Kevin walked around the benches and scanned the room with his flashlight. Nothing. He even checked the nearby stretching area and behind the weight racks. Still nothing. Confused, Kevin returned to the front desk. He sat down and looked at the monitor again. The woman was still there, standing in the exact same spot, facing the mirror. Kevin stared at the screen. His stomach tightened. He knew for a fact that the room had been empty. He had just walked through it. Kevin rubbed his eyes and leaned closer to the monitor. The camera feed showed the woman standing perfectly still. Then slowly, she began to move. But not in the way Kevin expected. Instead of turning around normally, her head tilted slightly. Then her body slowly rotated until she was facing the camera. Her face appeared pale under the gym lighting. Her eyes looked wide and strangely hollow. Kevin felt a sudden chill run through his body. She stared directly into the camera lens. Then something even stranger happened. She raised her arm, slowly, and pointed directly at the camera. Kevin felt his heart begin beating faster. He leaned closer to the monitor. The woman's finger remained extended toward the camera, toward him. At that exact moment, Kevin heard something behind him. A faint sound, a whisper, soft, barely audible, right next to his ear. "You saw me." Kevin jumped out of his chair and spun around. The front desk area was completely empty. The hallway lights flickered slightly, and the gym floor stretched out behind him in complete silence. No one stood there. Kevin's breathing became shallow. Slowly, he turned back toward the monitor. The camera feed was now empty. The woman was gone. The motion sensor icon had turned off. The free weights area looked completely normal again. Kevin stared at the screen for several minutes, trying to convince himself he had imagined the entire thing, but he hadn't, because the security system automatically recorded any motion detected by the cameras, and the recording was still saved. Kevin told me he watched the footage once more before the end of his shift. The video clearly showed the woman standing there, then pointing at the camera. But the moment when he heard the whisper, something else appeared on the recording. For just a single frame, a pale face appeared directly behind the front desk chair, right where Kevin had been sitting. Kevin quit his job 2 weeks later. He said he copied the security footage onto an old hard drive before leaving, but he refuses to watch it again. And he swears that sometimes, late at night, he still hears that same whisper in his dreams. You saw me.
If you made it this far, thank you for spending your night with us. If these stories gave you chills, there are plenty more waiting. Don't forget to subscribe to Night Fear Stories so that you are able to enjoy upcoming content on the channel. Good night and sleep well if you can.